Hey everybody, welcome to Home Recording Made Easy and Plugin Review Friday, where every Friday I show you a new plugin, we walk through its feature set, and I show you how to apply it to a mix so you can make professional sounding mixes in your home studio. Okay, before we get started, if you like what you see in this video, please consider subscribing and make sure you hit that notification bell, and also make sure you stick around till the end of the video because I have a few free gifts I want to give you that is absolutely going to help you make better music in your home studio. So stick around. Okay, everybody, welcome. So this week on Plugin Review Friday, we're going to take a look at a very cool plugin called a DeBleeder. And this is by the company Wilkinson Audio. You can see it on the screen here. This is a really, really cool plugin. I'm going to leave the link in the description box below so you can check this out. This is, I think, normally a $40 plugin that's on sale as of the recording of this video for about 30 bucks. This is really cool. And this is another one of those utility plugins that that I think everyone should have in their toolbox. You know, a phase correction tool, you know, is one of them. You know, something like the Mix Checker Pro for checking reference tracks and reference mixes is another one. This is another one of those plugins. So this is a real simple plugin, and the idea behind this is to be able to reduce the bleed between microphones in live recorded drums. Okay, and we're going to listen to this on a kick and a snare. Now, the first thought when you first hear this is you may think, well, this is just kind of like a gate. Can't you just use a gate to do that? And it isn't really a gate. It does something a little bit different from a gate. If you've been following me for any length of time, you'll know if you've taken any one of my mixing courses or have seen me on my live stream series where we do mixing demonstrations, I'm not a fan of gates, because typically gates are very finicky to dial in. And what ends up happening with the gate more times than not, depending on the source material, is it chops off the end of the resonance of the drum. So a gate sounds very choppy, very clippy, could almost sound like it's clipping with distortion. And there are very few plugins on the market gate-wise I've ever used where I didn't spend more time fiddling around with the gate than I did to get it to work. The only exception to that is something recent by Slate Digital called the Slate Digital, I think it's called the Drum Gate and the Classic Gate. That one tends to work pretty well. This one by Wilkinson Audio is equally as good, if not probably a little bit better. And so it acts like a gate, but it really isn't a gate. So what we're going to do is we're going to listen to this on a kick and a snare so you can see how it works, and then you can check it out for yourself. Again, links will be in the description box below. So basically we have 4 knobs here and a couple of buttons to check this out. Now, each one of these knobs do something a little bit different, and we're going to reference the actual manual. There's a lot of technical stuff going under the hood, and I don't want to get too technical here. I just want to show you how you use it. So the first thing here is we have a power switch, an on and off power switch. We have an audition and an exit the audition. Oops, excuse me. Here, which will audition the fundamental frequency, which is this big knob on the left here, and we'll audition this and you'll be able to get it in a second. What this does is this will allow you to find the fundamental frequency of the drum hit. So for example, on a kick drum, we'll listen to it where we're going to pick around 60, 65 hertz to try to dial in that frequency. And then we're going to use the bandwidth to kind of narrow in on that frequency. And then the range is where it's going to kind of limit the frequency range of the fundamental. And again, I'll show you in a second on the manual. And then how much we want to reduce will be the reduction. And then we're going to have some hardened soft knees here, and then a release and a threshold. So let me just show you. It's really simple to use. And we have an LED down here. And then we have this little button on the right-hand side that when you click it, little info button, this will show you the parameters as you're turning the knob. So like over here, the fundamental's at 20 hertz right now. As I turn this, you'll see it creep up. So you can see what the values are as opposed to just listening if you want that aid for you. Okay, so if we bring up the manual here to describe it in a little more detail here, let me just see if I can pull up the manual for you. So here is kind of the manual on their website on how these buttons work. So again, we have a power switch, we have the audition button that allows you to hear the signal sent between the detection algorithm of the plugin. We have our EXT button. This is an external button, enables a side chain input to be fed into the detection of the algorithm. Okay, the fundamental again is used to set the fundamental frequency of the drum track. Okay, as I said, the bandwidth again is just like any other EQ bandwidth. You're going to narrow or widen how much the fundamental controls. It's a Q knob, and essentially the range knob limits the frequency range that the DeBleeder algorithm will actually affect. And it says this is useful for allowing the resonance of the drum to remain while removing the bleed. So what's great about the range is it doesn't cut off the ringing out of the drum. It just reduces the bleed behind the drum, if that makes any sense. The reduction knob controls the degree to which the blend is suppressed, and the release knob acts like a typical release. Okay, so that's the basics here. So let me get rid of that for a second here, okay? So let's just listen to this kick drum, okay? I'm gonna open this up here. We're gonna turn this off for a second. Here is just a kick drum. I'll turn this up so you can hear it. Okay, so you clearly hear the snare between it, bleeding through, and the hi-hat. Now, the reason why you want to reduce the bleed, if you don't know quickly, is because if you can reduce the bleed between the snare and the hi-hat, when you use things like EQ and compression on this kick drum, if you compress the kick drum kind of heavily, what's going to happen? You're going to hear that bleed. It's going to be even more obvious in the mix, right? So this kind of cleans all that out. So when you're doing your EQ and compression, you're only affecting what you want to affect, which is the drum. So if we play this drum and we turn on the plugin, okay, you can instantly hear it kind of goes away here for a second. Okay, I got the audition button plugged in. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit audition. We're going to turn the fundamental. And we can use the info button here. I know it might be difficult to hear over YouTube. Right now we're at 150 Hertz. Right around there. Okay, so we got dialed into 60 Hertz. And if you listen carefully, okay, you can hear the fundamental of that frequency. Now we're going to use the range. And the reduction. Okay, you can see the little LED light here working. So as we deal with the reduction, what we're trying to do, so I turn it down, you can hear the bleed. As I turn the range up, the bleed goes away. Okay, now you can use that in conjunction or in tandem with the reduction. No, there's still, all the bleed is coming through. Then you can use the threshold. You don't want to clamp it down that much. Okay. And the release. Release is too quick. Okay, that sounds more like a gate. It's a little too choppy. That sounds pretty good. So just so you know where we started, turning off the plugin, that's where we started on this kick drum. So you can hear how it's not really taking the tail end of the drum off. It's letting it kind of ring through. Now if you have the release all the way clockwise, or excuse me, counterclockwise, sounds a little choppy. So you want to slow up the release a little bit. Okay, so again, from here, from all that bleed to here. And again, you can play with this as much as you want. Okay, so it's really using the combination of the range, the reduction, the release, and the threshold. It's using all these things kind of in combination to dial in the sound that sounds good to you. Okay, so you got to use your ears. And again, you have this little window here to kind of give you an aid to show you kind of where you're at, okay? So that's kind of on a kick drum. So tiny bit of bleed. Again, we can reduce it even more. So from here, where all the toms bleeding through in the snare. Pretty cool. Okay, let's try it on a snare, just so you can get a feel for it. So here's a snare drum. I think I have the plug-in on, right? Let me see, let me turn it off. I'll turn this up so you can hear it better. Okay, so you hear all those toms in there? And the kick drum. Okay, let's find that fundamental now. Gets rid of all that bleed. So right now, if you look at this our little window, we're at 220 hertz on the fundamental. Usually that fundamental somewhere around 150. And we can audition it. Okay, that's with it off. That's the fundamental right there. So now we want to get rid of the bleed. Okay. Get rid of all that hi-hat splash. Okay, so from that to that, that's where we started. But you can hear the tail of the drum, the sustain of it. Where a gate's typically click, 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 and it's very choppy, even though you can adjust the threshold and you can do the same thing with a gate. But what I find is this is much easier and it just sounds more natural. Also, a gate too kind of changes the tone of the drum a little bit. Where this keeps the same tone, it just seems like all it's doing is removing the background noise or the bleed. So if we do kick snare now, so here's our kick snare. Well, let's shut this. Now, if I just remove the plugins, we go from that kick snare. Very, very cool. Very, very natural sounding. This is a great, again, for 30 bucks, or even if you paid the full $40, this is worth that all day long. $40. This is a great plugin. Again, this is not a sponsored video. They did not give this to me for free. They don't know who I am. I bought this with my own money after seeing it I think I found it on one of my followers sent it to me on Facebook, and I went to check it out and said, wow, this is really cool. I never heard of Wilkinson audio. So click the link in the description box below. I think you can demo it too. I think you can try it for free. But as I said, if you could get it for $30, or even if you had to pay $40, I think this is a great tool for drums. Just like phase correction, when we talk about audible line, and there's videos on audible line, you can check that out. I'll put a link in the description box below so you can check out the audible line review. Things like Trigger True, Trigger 2 by Slate Digital, a drum replacement VST, whether it's Slate Digital or somebody else. Once again, if you're working with live recorded drums, these kinds of plugins are really going to help you really work on the overall sound of the drum. And a lot of the inherent problems we have with mixing drums has to do with all the drum bleed and trying to fight that and find that balance between the bleed and, you know, how much it can or cannot muddy up our drum mix. This is another one of those tools. That really helps. So I encourage you to go take a look at it. So go take a look at the Wilkinson Audio DeBleeder. Links will be in the description box below. Now, I told you I was going to give you a couple of free gifts from hanging around till the end of the video. If this is your first time here, I want you to click the link in the description box. I want you to go out to homerecordingmadeeasy.com. I want to give you 5 free mixing training courses worth about $200. It's my gift to you for visiting homerecordingmadeeasy.com. And I also want to give you a coupon code if you want to take 25% off any one of the training courses on my website at homerecordingmadeeasy.com. The coupon code is YouTube25. That's YouTube25. Will take 25% off any training course on the website. Go check that out today. Again, all the links will be in the description box below. And lastly, I want to hear from you. What do you think of this plugin? What do you use to kind of reduce the bleed on your drum mixes? Do you just use gates? If you do, what gate plugin do you use? Do you have some other method of doing it? I know on tom tracks, we can clean out all of the place, all the audio between the tom hits. You've seen me do that a million times because drummers don't usually hit the toms all that much throughout a song. But for kick and snare, what do you do? Or do you just live with it? Or do you use a gate? Have you tried this kind of a plugin before? Let me know. Leave comments below. And until the next video, I've been Dave with homerecordingmadeeasy.com and mixingmadeeasy.net, by the way. Check that out in the description box below. And I'll see you guys next Friday. Take care.